So y'all give Justin a hand for that because I can't do that. I don't know how to make videos. So and give Justin a hand that I told John David I was going to throw him under the bus that we had two kids send in their pictures last night at 8:30 and 9 o'clock. So Justin was up till 1 making the video. It was all Cambridge's fault. So no. So I am here today, and I'm going to eat this. By the way, I know y'all left this for Pastor Michael, but don't think it's so. I'm here today, and I'm going to talk about two. I've told the other services I was going to talk about two things that we don't like to talk about in church, but I'm going to talk about three things in this service that we don't like to talk about. So one is money, one is numbers, and the other for y'all is change. So money, I'm going to go ahead and start out. I'm the youth pastor, so I got to throw a plug in there. So we're going on a mission trip, and last year we went to San Antonio, and we carried 14 youth. And the way the mission trip works is that we're down there and we learn how to share our testimonies. The youth learn how to share their testimonies. And then we went out and did street evangelism in front of the Alamo Dome. In front of the Alamo. We had the concerts and stuff in the Alamo Dome. We cooked hamburgers and hot dogs underneath the interstate and fed the homeless. And they know that Scott Dawson knows that I like scaring old people. So we got to go play bingo at a retirement home. And I go, B32. It's one of my greatest, it's one of my greatest joys in life. I don't know. So we did that. And this year, when I tell you where it's at, you're going to go, yeah, that's a mission trip. So we are going to Pensacola this year. But it's called Unite Gulf Coast. So we're bringing in for King and Country, and we're bringing in Casting Crowns. And the beauty of it is, if y'all grow up going to youth events, that there'll be a call, and the youth will come forward, and it's usually me down there talking to youth. And that's the way youth conferences work. The way this works is we had 11,000 people in the Alamo Dome. And they did the call, and we had 1,200 decisions last year at this. And the people that were praying for the people was our youth, like our kids from all over the country. We're in the back. People would come back, and they were leading people to Christ left and right. It was awesome. So this year, and we did a fundraiser. We carried 14, and I made them pay a deposit, but luckily, thanks to y'all, I didn't make them pay much more to go for a mission trip. So last year we carried 14. This year we have 45 signed up to go. And just a frame of reference, I got here 14 months ago, and like I said, me and Barton preached the first Wednesday I was here. We had 11 kids here, and I think they had 7 kids at Cambridge. We were averaging about 18 kids, 19 kids at all three campuses. Last Wednesday night, we had 81 at all three campuses. We are growing. So there's a board out here. The way the board works is if you want to give $8, you go get envelope 8 and you put $8 in it. And it goes all the way up to 300, but it's from 100 down is at all three campuses, but from 100 to 300, we've got it spread out at all three campuses. So if you want to give $1,000, you can pick any envelope you want, I promise, and just put it in there. I'm not going to complain. But that's the fundraiser part that we're doing with the youth. So just thank y'all for y'all's continual support of us, and we are busting at the seams. We hit 50 here last week. And that was my 5-year goal. So now I've got to change goals around again. So we're growing. And the message that I have is about numbers. I don't shy away from telling the youth I want to be the largest youth group in Limestone County. And I eat with all the other youth pastors once a month, and guess what I tell them? I'm going to be the largest youth group in Limestone County. I don't shy away from it, because me pushing myself to do that and pushing them to do that makes it, and they know that it's friendly. Like, I'm not, but it makes everybody better. I want them to have 800 youth at Lindsay Lane, but I want to have 801 like that. I mean, I want everybody to grow. So we are in Numbers today, and God put this on my heart to talk to y'all about it before I even knew that we were getting rid of this service. So in Numbers, it said that the Lord said to Moses, "Send out men to explore the land of Canaan, the land that I have given to the Israelites. See what the land is like, and if you find out whether the people living there are strong or weak, few or many, what kind of land do they live in? Is it good land or is it bad land? Do their towns have walls, or are they unprotected and open like camps? Is the soil fertile or poor? Do your best to bring back samples of the crops, because it happened to be the season for harvesting the first grapes." So we're looking at this, and it's pretty, it lays out. But God had already promised them the land. He'd already given it to them. And he knew Moses' heart, and Moses was like, "I'm going to send some spies out there to look." Now, Moses was kind of already waffling in his leadership, because what had God already told him? That's their land. And what did Moses say? "Well, I need to go look at it." So right now, Friendship as a campus, at Lucas Ferry as a campus, and Friendship as a community of churches, we are on the brink of walking into our destiny. Like, we have God in his omnipotence put this church here, and I know it's a big word for a youth pastor to use, and I hope I used it right. So he put this church here 60 some odd years ago. We planted this church here. And when I got out here, people would tell me, "Well, we can't really grow a youth group out here because everybody is on the other side of town. Like, we're just out here on an island by ourselves." Like John David and them, like, when we joke and he calls it the promised land, but he's in the middle of the growth. And Ronnie Marks, the mayor's in the first service, and I said, "Ronnie, where else is there to grow in Athens?" Athens isn't going to stop growing. There are 1,800 houses on the docket to be built within a year. And you know where those houses are going to be built at? Right here around us. So we are in the middle of the promised land. God has promised us. This church was faithful. We came out here. We have waited. And God, in his promise, this is what he told Abraham. He said, "The Lord said to Abram, go from the country that your people and your father's household, and I will show you your land. And I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those that bless you, and I will curse those that curse you. And all people on the earth will be blessed through you." Now, when I read this, I tell our youth, I see us in it. Like, he has, first thing he says is that I will make you. And when you make some, I don't know if y'all saw Dana's daughter in the video. When you make something, it kind of looks almost like you. Like, there's no mistaking that that's your kid. So we are supposed to be reflections of God. We're supposed to be reflecting God in our church, in our lives. And I tell them, I am a large individual with a big beard, and I drive a big red Jeep. You can't miss me in Athens. Like, I'm kind of noticeable. And from that, I have to guard my testimony, because if I run somebody off the road and tell them they're number one, and Mr. Constable has to come find me, who does that look bad on? I mean, one, it looks bad on me, and my dad told me that the only thing I got is my name. Don't make it look stupid in the paper. My last name. It's all you got. Second, I'm y'all's youth pastor. Everybody knows it, whether you want them to or not, because my wife tells me I can't have a conversation with anybody without telling them that I am the youth pastor at Friendship. So everybody knows that. So if I do something stupid, it reflects bad on y'all. But ultimately, everybody knows that I'm a Christian, and it looks bad on all of us. So I have to guard my testimony because I'm reflecting God. Then he says that I will bless you. And by blessing you, that's where we're talking about. That is representing God. So, like it or not, I'm the representative for the youth here at Friendship. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. But I'm the representative. Like when the projector back here is off a little bit, and who do you think they called? The youth pastor. He's the one that broke it. It has to be the youth. So we have to represent and respect this stuff that we've been given. And then it gets a little bit harder because he says, I will cover you. And by covering you, it means that you have to rely on God. And that's where a lot of us have problems, because we have been raised. I'm a man. Like if you see Cody, when you see my little one, go up and ask him if he's a man. He'll go, I'm a man. He's a man. So right now, if Will got up here and cut my leg off, none of y'all, I promise you wouldn't even know it hurt me. When my wife got here back here, like I'll cry like a baby behind the door, but out here, I'm a man. And a man doesn't have to rely on anybody. We've been taught that it's us. So sometimes we have to give up ourself and rely on God. And I think that's what we're asking y'all to do in this 11 o'clock service. We're asking y'all to give it up for a little bit and just rely on God. And I know I'm a youth pastor, so I can say this word. It sucks. Like sometimes it's not fair, but sometimes we've got to go through stuff so we can grow. And I promise you, we are growing. Like we are about to bust out of the seams in the youth department. And it's infectious. It's about to take over the adults. So, and then he says that I will use you. And that's what we're looking towards. God wants to use us. And when he's using us, it's to glorify him. Like when I tell you that we hit 80 at a youth this week, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Like everybody that knows me, I am the biggest moron out here. I have no clue what's going on most days. I just I just wait on Pastor Micheal to come down here and sit in my office and go, Brother Lee, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't think you know what you're doing either. And I don't know that I could argue with him most days. So we just have to, we've got to trust God. And, I see our church and I see our youth group in the same place that they are. God has shown us the promised land. And we're scared to go. I'd rather stay here in my wilderness than go into the promised land. And a lot of them had rather go back to where they came from. If you keep reading, they were like, let's just go back to Egypt. I know we were slaves, but I'd rather be back in Egypt than did you hear what they said? There's giants over there. So God has been preparing us for his promise. And he has promised, like we have prayed, he has promised, like we don't pray for growth anymore. We thank him for growth because we know it's coming. We have been working on our nets for a long time now here at Friendship. And it's time for us to throw them out. Like we have been preparing for growth. And now it's time to expect growth. Like it's happening. But to walk into our destiny, and our destiny is like, I don't know so I'm on a couple of boards that are strange. I know I'm a youth pastor and they put me on these weird boards, but Asbury over in Madison, do you know that we have more usable air conditioned space than they do at our Friendship campuses? Like, we have more space than Asbury has. I mean, we're not utilizing it at the moment, but it's coming. We've got to be prepared. And for us to walk into our destiny, it hinges on whether or not we're walking in faith. And y'all know the Bible says we walk by faith, not by sight. And we'll get into that in a minute what they saw when they went out there. But I have faith we're growing. Like, it has, like, there's some youth back here. They know it ain't got nothing to do with me. I tell them, like, every good thing the youth does. When that projector got broke, guess who the idiot was that got in trouble? That'd be me. I'll take all the blame and give y'all all the credit. But we have to be willing to do that as a church. And I'm hoping that y'all, as the 11 o'clock, are willing to do that. Like, that's what we're banking on, is that y'all are the jump start to all of this. So when you're reading it, do you hear what I hear? He said, he wants them to go out there and explore what God has already promised them. And, God can't get the glory unless you know the opportunity and the obstacles of the promise that he's promised you. So, obstacles out here. We're not a First Church. We're not downtown. We're out. We used to be on an island out here by ourselves. God is changing all of that. We have to be willing to look at our obstacles as opportunities. So God has already given the land to his people. He'd already promised it to them. God has already promised us, and Micheal will probably cut this out, but we're going to be the largest church in Athens. Drag, pull, push. We're going to be the largest church in Athens. And I believe that with all my heart. Like, our 3 campuses are going to be the beacon of Christianity in Athens. I can already, like, we had a National Day of Prayer Thursday. There were 8 pastors that prayed. I was one of them. Micheal was one of them. And Ronnie Marks was one of them. Out of all the churches they could have chose from, 3 of them came from here. So, we're already getting on that. So, but before we can walk in our promise, like I said, we've got to be willing to leave the wilderness. And it's hard. Like, I don't know that youth looks anything like youth looked before I got here. It's hard to change stuff. And I am a blow stuff up and then go look at the pieces and put it back together kind of person. Pastor Micheal is let's look at it, and that's why he's a senior pastor, and I have youth in front of my name. So we are planning for growth. Like we have went out. We have surveyed the land. We know that the soil is fertile. We know that God has already given it to us. And there was 10 that came back out of the 12 and said, hey, the old man has lost it. He's off his rocker. I don't know that if you saw what I saw, but there's giants over there. And those grapes that he wanted us to bring back, it says they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes, and it took 2 men to carry them with a pole in between it. So I don't know that if you've seen a cluster of grapes, it was supernatural abundance. God had already given it to them. All they had to do was go get it. It's ready. Then they say, well, they were big. There was big food over there, and I told the 9:30 service, it's like I'm a big guy. Like it was like a buffet. Buffets get me a little excited. I'm not, It was like a buffet over there. They were. Hey, let's look at all that food. Let's go get it. But then they said, yeah, but that big food. There's giant people over there too. I mean, they're huge. They're 9-10 foot tall people. And it says that they gave Moses the account. We went into the land which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here's the fruit, but, and this is where where we all get in trouble. And I like to say we stick our big butt in there, but the people who live there are powerful, and they are very large, and we look like grasshoppers compared to them. So we've got a closet over here as our youth room. Like we're in the shelter. I don't know that y'all have been to any other youth rooms, but I kind of go look, and there's no way we're going to build a youth group of 80 in there. But guess what? We've built a youth group of 80 in there. That because God has already promised that that's what's going to happen. It's already happened. So they were looking at the people as they're too big instead of looking at once this does happen, look at the story we're going to have to tell. We're going to be able to tell our friends that our God did this. So I told the first service that I'm over first priority. I do first priority at West Limestone on Tuesday mornings, and I do first priority at Athens Middle on Thursday mornings. So Athens Middle, me and Jerome have been doing that for 6 years, and we had 6 kids for the first 2 years. We hit 400 kids this year. So we've got 400 kids coming to a Bible study at 7:30 in the morning. All right, now, that's 400 kids. We've got 35 coming at West Limestone. Which one of them do you think I'm more proud of? I'm more proud of the 35 coming at West Limestone because, there's not a youth pastor within 30 miles of the school out there. Like the land out there, you're plowing and we're hitting rocks. But I've got 35 faithful kids that are going to grow that over the next 2 or 3 years to 200 kids. Like that's where we're going. So you've got to look at what God sees and not what you see. So that gets me to what I call the grasshopper complex, because they said, we look like grasshoppers in our own eyes to them. So whose eyes were they looking through? What perspective were they using? They were using their own. And in your own eyes, guess what? In our own eyes, we can't fill this church up. It's impossible. But guess what? We're not looking through our own eyes. What did God already told them? It's going to happen. Do it. I don't know what we're waiting on. I'm like Caleb. That's why I told him in the first service, that first song is Crowder. I hear Crowder. I'm ready to storm hell with a water gun. Like, I'm ready. Like, let's go. But they were looking at their perspective, and they believed the lie that got placed in humanity at the very beginning. All the way back to Eve, the fruit, don't touch it, don't eat it. She touched it and ate it because the devil told her, old man can't be trusted. Like, God does not want what's best for you. He's holding you back. And we bought it hook, line, and sinker. And we still buy it hook, line, and sinker. Like, we can't be a large church. Like, we only have one van. We can't be we've got one van and we've got 3 campuses. How are you getting kids all to come together once a month because North needs a van to bring them here and Cambridge needs a van to bring them here and y'all are here. Or if we all go out there, how do you get, it's just a logistic nightmare. And like I told you, I'm as dumb as a brick. Like I just trust, like, I don't know, God, this is what we're doing. I'm trusting you to do it. So they believed the lie. And it was the lie that the enemy planted in humanity long ago, is that God can't be trusted. And that's what the Israelites were looking at. They were looking at the promised land, and it was already theirs. And they just said, no, I don't think we got it. So from that, we've got to figure out what we're doing. And we are in a growth process. And it's a strategic growth process. Like, I don't believe that, like I told you, I'm not smart, but I don't believe that it just happens. It is something that we have to prepare for. And what I have learned over the year that I have been here is that we are prepared. We've got the infrastructure. I mean, we've got like 8 drummers. I didn't know. Did y'all? I mean, we've got the infrastructure. So we've got to figure out whether or not we believe it or not. Like, do we believe that God wants to use us in Athens? I mean, do we believe that? And if we do, it's time to start moving. Like I told him, God didn't send Jesus. He wasn't born in the Marriott, and then Mary went and got a massage over in Florence, and then he hung out by the pool. He sent him here to get dirty. And growth in a church sometimes is dirty work. Like it's getting out and beating the bushes. So I end youth about once a month on Wednesday night like this. And I would like everybody to close your eyes. And I want you to think about one person. And I want you to think about that person that needs to come to church. And I don't want you to think about your buddy that goes to Lindsay Lane that you think needs to come here. I want you to think about your friend that you see every day that is not churched. And all I want you to do is between now and August, invite them to church. Just invite them. So you can open your eyes. You've all got that one person. And I tell the youth, like, we did volleyball and bonfire last Wednesday night. And we sat out there and we did a lesson on labels. So what I'm asking y'all is that it's easy to invite friends to come play volleyball. What do I need to do to help y'all invite people here? Because John Wesley said that if you set yourself on fire, people will come from miles around to watch. And I am the idiot to set myself on fire. So what do we need to do to make you want to invite your friends here? And that is something that I would like for y'all to prayerfully consider. Like, just and email me. You can email me anything. If it's about the 11 o'clock service, then you're gonna have to email Micheal on that one. That was he left me here. I'm throwing him under the bus. So, but just what do we need to do? Like, if it's a cornhole tournament in the parking lot, if it's a car show in the parking lot. If it's, hey, Lee's going to take his Jeep and try to ramp it over that big mound out there, because that might happen sooner or later anyhow. We just need to bring them in. And when they get here, I promise you they will hear the gospel. Like, I know all of our staff. They will hear the gospel. John David will give them the gospel. Pastor Steve will give them the gospel. Pastor Micheal will give them the gospel. Me and Barton and Dakota will give them the gospel. We promise. John Reinhardt will give them the gospel. That's all we're asking. Is that it's time for us to start throwing our nets out again. And we would appreciate it if we could all be on board. Like, I know there's nothing you can do that's going to make everybody happy. But did y'all notice what happened when they came back? The 10 convinced the rest of Israel, we can't do it. It ain't worth even trying. And those people didn't get to see the promised land. So I'm just asking, God is offering us freedom and prosperity. And when I say prosperity, I'm not Joel Osteen prosperity. Like, when I became a youth pastor, I was promised a Ferrari and a big house. Don't know what I would do with either. Like, I'm not cleaning a big house. Don't know that I would fit in a Ferrari. So, God knows better. So, prosperity means winning souls to Christ. So, over the past 14 months, we have baptized 18 youth at all 3 campuses. I'm not growing. We're not growing just to be growing. We are growing the kingdom. So, the last question as the band's coming out is that, are you ready to walk into our destiny? Like, it's already out there. It's already been promised. We just got to be willing to take that first step and go. So, thank y'all.